If you're here, maybe you felt it too, that moment when you realize you're no longer the center of the story. You're just background. That's how it started for me. My name is Walter Jennings. I'm 78, and 3 months ago I watched my family bury me alive. No casket, no service, but a silent burial just the same. They left me in a nursing home 90 minutes outside the city, without a word, without a real goodbye. But what broke me wasn't the betrayal. It was the whisper from the youngest one, the only one who looked back. What he said that day, it didn't just shatter me. It saved me. Before I tell you what it was, let me take you back. And before we begin, if this story touches you, please subscribe to Life After 50. We tell stories for the ones who've lived and still deserve to be heard. I thought we were going to lunch. That's what my daughter Beth told me the night before. Put on something nice, Dad. I'm picking you up. She hadn't visited in weeks, and I missed her more than I admitted. I even put on the cologne Margaret gave me on our last Christmas together, the one she said made me smell like the man I fell in love with, not the one I argued with over soup. We drove in silence for almost an hour. I tried to make conversation, but she kept checking her watch. Something felt off. She said we were going somewhere quiet, somewhere I could breathe. But when we pulled into the lot and I saw the soft beige building with ivy crawling up its sides, I knew. The sign out front read, Willow Pines Senior Living. I laughed, a little more at the absurdity than anything else. Then I saw the clipboard. The receptionist already knew her name. Beth didn't look at me. Dad, she finally said, this is for the best. You'll have everything you need here. 24-hour care, nice rooms, other folks your age. I stood there trying to find my voice, but it had fled. I watched her sign the forms. I watched her hand over my medications and my wallet. I watched her do everything but look me in the eyes. Then she hugged me, said she loved me, and walked out the door. And just like that, I was no longer part of my own life. The cruelest lies are the ones wrapped in silence. The first few days were a fog. They served meals like clockwork and the nurses were kind, but everything felt muted, like I was underwater. No visitors, no calls, no family. My room was across the hall from a man named Carl. He was 85, never looked up when he talked. He told me he'd been dropped off 6 years ago and hadn't seen his family since. No one ever comes, he muttered one night. Eventually you stop expecting them. I didn't want to become Carl, but each day blurred into the next, and my resolve, like the edges of an old photo, began to fade. Then one Tuesday afternoon they came. Beth, her husband, my 2 sons, their wives, the grandchildren. They didn't bring cake or flowers or a smile that lasted more than a minute. They came to clean out my house. I wasn't even part of the conversation. Beth walked over and handed me a reusable bag with some of my clothes and said, we're handling the house stuff, okay? You don't need to worry anymore. They took the china Margaret and I bought on our honeymoon. They took my books, my father's war medals, the handmade cradle I built when Beth was pregnant with Eli. They left a sweater, an empty wallet, and a dry plant in a cracked pot. I watched from the window as they loaded boxes into the car. I didn't cry, I didn't move. I just watched. And then I saw him. Eli. He lingered. 10 years old, a little taller than I remembered. But his eyes were still soft, still honest. He looked up and met my gaze, then walked to the glass and pressed his small hand against it. His lips moved. I couldn't hear him through the pain, but I could read them. I didn't want this. I'll come back for you. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the loudest truth. That night I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the echo of his whisper ringing in my chest. I saw the flash of guilt in Beth's eyes when she turned away, the tired distance in my son's faces. But Eli, he remembered me, and that memory, the fact that I wasn't gone from his mind, was enough to light a match in the cold cave I'd fallen into. The next morning, I asked the nurse for a typewriter. She blinked, laughed, and brought me a small laptop instead, and I began to write. I wrote to each of them letters I didn't know I'd needed to write. To Beth, I wrote about the day she was born and the sound she made when I first held her. To my sons, I wrote about how proud I'd been when they got their first jobs, even if I never said it. And to Eli, I wrote everything, but the last letter I kept. It was for Margaret. I told her I was sorry for letting the quiet become normal. Sorry for not teaching our children that love is something you show, not just say. Sorry for disappearing from their hearts before I disappeared from there. But 2 weeks later, it was raining. The kind of rain that comes sideways and soaks through to the bone. I sat on the porch wrapped in a borrowed shawl, watching the drops race down the railing. Then I saw him, a bike, a too big raincoat, tires sliding across wet pavement. Eli, he was panting, soaked, holding something under his coat. He ran up to me. I told you I'd come back, he said, breathless. He pulled out a small rusted tin box. Inside were drawings I'd given him, photos of us together, and the harmonica I taught him to play. He looked up at me and said, I told Mom she made a mistake. I couldn't speak. My chest hurt in that strange, aching way when joy and grief collide all at once. Truth from a child is sometimes the only truth left standing. Since that day, Eli has visited every Sunday. He brings silly stories, sometimes chess, sometimes just silence, but he brings presents. My children still haven't come back, but I've stopped waiting, because the one who mattered most didn't forget me. And through him, I remembered who I was. If you've ever felt invisible, discarded, like the world moved on without you, let this story be your mirror. You are still here. You are still loved. And sometimes, the smallest whisper can bring the loudest kind of healing. Subscribe to Life After 50 for more stories like this. Stories that don't just speak, but listen. And if this touched you, share it with someone who might need. A reminder that we don't bury people with dirt, we bury them with silence, but we can bring them back with love,